Magic items. You either hate them or you love them. No, who am I kidding? Every self-respecting dungeon master loves putting magic items in front of their players and seeing how those players come up with uses of those magic items, or seeing them disappear into portable holes or bags of holding, never to be seen again, or picked out 2 years later, and you as a dungeon master have no idea how they work, so you need to look them up and everything. Anyway, we are talking about magic items, and today I'm talking about a very funny, very cool little PDF on the Dungeon Masters Guild called The Remainder Bin: 49.5 magic items of wrongful wizardry and magical malpractice. Hi there, fellow Dungeons & Dragons players and Dungeon Masters. My name is Mr. Tarask, and this is your go-to YouTube channel for everything third-party Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition related. Reviews, previews, flip-throughs, whatever you want, third-party Dungeons & Dragons, this is the place. So if you want to see all of that, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to support me, make sure to visit my Patreon page where you can play with me as a player, but also can play with me as a Dungeon Master or some other stuff. Talk with me on Discord. Check it out on my Patreon page. I am going to talk about The Remainder Bin, a very funny, cool little PDF that I was sent by the person who wrote it, Maxwell Zener, who I have never heard about before recording this video, before getting sent this wonderful PDF, and I had some great laughs with this. I just need to check really quick if I'm still recording and everything. Yes, I am. I had some great laughs with this. I actually laughed out loud when I was flipping through this. Now, I flipped through this, so I do not know every magic item in here and everything. I just want to talk about how cool I think it is, because I think it's just a very cool idea for a magic item book. These are like the magic items that were thrown into the remainder bin, and that were all kinds of crazy stuff happened and they were not usable or whatever. And you can really see this in the introduction. Let's be honest, for every big bee there are many small bees, and for every Mordenkainen there are a lot of Mordenkainenofs. Not every exploration into the magical arts ends well, and not for every attempt to enchant a magic item works as intended. So this is a collection of magic items where like the creator didn't know what they were doing, or maybe it was meant as a prank, or some wild magic got involved. It is all kind of like weird magic items that didn't make the cut. Not only in other Dungeons & Dragons products, but I mean in-game they didn't mean the cut. So they were thrown away because they had some really cool properties, but they probably also had some properties that really didn't work. So we can find them every now and then, and I just think there are some very cool magic items in here, but I will not talk about all of them. Like, not only a few. I will pick out just a few, just to give you an idea of what it is. If you want to get a real idea of the book, make sure to just check it out on the Dungeon Masters Guild. Link in the description below, like always, because I don't know, support the person who created. Please do. I mean, the art of this thing is so cool. I think this is just like a silly little thing, but that's, for me, it is the thing with magic items. I often give away magic items just to be silly. So there's a lot of epic magic items you can get, but there's also magic items you can just give somebody to be silly. Like, yeah, there's so much fun to be had with magic items, and I'm the kind of dungeon master, I admit, I give away way too many magic items to my players, and then when they're level 13, I don't know how in heaven's name they just killed a chance rated 30 creature or something, but it's probably my fault. The first one I want to talk about is the Belt of Dwarven Unkindness. I think this one is really cool. It is one of those belts, like a dwarven leather belt, but I see it more like a one of those wrestlers' belt. That's how I would like put it in front of my players, as one of those wrestlers' belt from the dwarven wrestler days or whatever. And this is about dwarven unkindness. I think this one is really funny because, well, first of all, your constitution score increases, you have advantage on charisma, made to interact with dwarfs, and you have disadvantage on charisma checks, persuasion, made to interact with anyone who is not a dwarf. So you think the dwarven race is superior to everybody, and you can speak, read, and write dwarvish. Furthermore, you refuse to speak any other language. which can lead to some very annoying but funny little role-playing opportunities. And if somebody wants to convince you to speak any other language, they can do that by succeeding on a DC charisma, DC 15 charisma check, persuasion or intimidation. Then you have advantage on saving throws against poison. Being a dwarf, you get dark vision. And then funniest part, while attuned to this belt, each day at dawn you grow a full beard, even if you're not normally capable of growing one, or a visible thicker one if you already have one. So I now imagine myself a Gearforged or a Warforged with a freaking beard. They don't even have skin to grow a hair out of, so they suddenly you are this Gearforged dude, and then boom, you have a beard, which could be like very funny, like a dwarven speaking Gearforged who refuses to speak any other language. Yeah, and you have a beard, like a big ass beard, which is really, really, can come really handy, funny, whatever. There's also the belt of giant physique, which I think is really cool. While wearing this belt, your strength score increases, but you have 6 types, like the hill giant, stone giant, frost giant, fire giant, cloud giant, and storm giant, and they all give you like this thing. If you roll to be the hill giant, like I would have somebody roll a d6 for this. Your strength increases to 29, you grow a massive beer belly, your hairline recedes dramatically, and your dental hygiene looks appalling. Um, all these kinds of things you get. Now, some of these, although they have a lot of like downsides because they are meant to be like that way, they're meant to be ridiculous in a way. They have a lot of downsides to them in order to balance these strong sides of them. Some of them seem a little bit overpowered even. Um, I mean, now, a lot of these are kind of like the Dwarven Kindness one is not overpowered in a way because like your Constitution score increases by 2. That's a lot. But you get all those downsides. You can only speak Dwarven, blah, blah, blah. But with this Hill Giant thing, everything that changes is like negatively changes is physical. Your skin turns ice blue. Now, if I am a level, let's say I'm a level 10, I don't know, like level 10 elf, right? And I look badass. I'm a level elf fighter and I look freaking badass. I have the sword and the shield. I'm as badass as I can be. And people are already looking at me when I walk into town. People are already like, whoa, he's badass, right? If I then suddenly would gain a freaking strength score of 23, which is a freaking lot, it's really a lot. It's slightly overpowered. It's a lot. I wouldn't care a single rat's ass if my skin would turn blue. I mean, that's just me. I would roleplay that. I would be like, yeah, I'm a blue elf. I'm one of those rare blue elves. I'm a shiny elf, like in Pokemon. I'm an elf, and when you catch 100 elves, one of them is shiny, which has blue skin. Something like that. I mean, I'm joking, of course, but I wouldn't really care. That's a good trade-off for having 23 strength score because you can beat the crap out of a lot of monsters with 23 strength score. You can jump very far with that. You can climb very well with that. You can swim very well with that. Everything is becomes a lot of things become very easy when having that kind of strength score. So yeah, that's really. It's a bit like the balance is not really there, but it's also meant as a joke. But if you give it to a player as a joke, those players are probably going to not use it as a joke. They're going to legitimately use it against you as a dungeon master. And I know that shouldn't be a thing against you as a dungeon master, but still, they're going to use it and they're going to have that strength score. So make sure to be prepared for that kind of stuff when you give them a, well, then there is Boots of Elven Snobbery. They sound really braces of defensiveness, where if somebody gives you any criticism, like, hey, you fought well, but I don't like your earrings. I don't know. you immediately take that as a bad thing, and you need to roll a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or become hostile towards that creature. Now this is really trolling your players, because becoming hostile towards a creature is not just becoming unfriendly towards a creature, but becoming hostile towards it. So if anybody gives you any critique, you immediately start a freaking bar fight or whatever. So make sure that if you wear these braces, you have good friends who are holding you back when you get into arguments, and have those friends know that you are not somebody that takes criticism very well. On the other hand, they give you +2 in AC, which is also +2 in AC. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot, believe me. Especially on the lower levels, if you have like 19 AC or you have 21 AC, that really is a game changer. Then there is something like the Comedy Club. I love the name of this. The Comedy Club, which is a weapon, a club. It gives you -1 penalty on attack rolls and damage rolls. -1. Except if you had 2 drinks. I think that's just very funny. Then there's another part which I will just leave out. There's a DC 12 Wisdom saving throw, or the target of, if you hit a creature, it must make a Wisdom saving throw. If it fails, it is overcome with laughter, and you get advantage on it and everything. Again, that's really, really strong. Just role play you drinking 2 beers in the morning, and then every time you hit somebody, they need to make wisdom saving throws or be overcome with laughter, and then attack rolls and skill checks and saving throws. They have disadvantage on those, and you have advantage against them. I mean, that's really, really, really overpowered in a way. So I kinda like, yeah, it's just it has a -1 penalty, but it gives you normal stuff, +1 when you have 2 drinks. So yeah, I mean, again, it is a very funny module, but it is just a little bit unbalanced. But I'm weighing too much on this unbalanced part, because it's just meant to be funny, and it is funny. Some of these magic items are really cool. I absolutely love it, and I'm absolutely giving the belt of dwarven unkindness to my players. Absolutely, 100%. This belt of giant physique I might give to one of my players. I might give the hill giant one to one of my players. No, I'm probably gonna, but they're level 15. So having a 21 strength score at level 15 is way less overpowered than getting that on like level 10 or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff going here. Crystal ball. Blah. There was another very, very fun one. Yes, I flipped through this already. This is, by the way, as you can probably notice, an uncut review. So this is the way I talk when I don't edit. I'm all over the place. I know. I just want to point eyes on this awesome module. Manual of questionable health practices. Oh, mug of endless coffee. I mean, this is really relatable, and this is funny, and this is not overpowered. Who doesn't want a mug that keeps refilling with hot coffee? As a bonus action, you can speak a command word that causes the mug to fill with a caffeine-rich beverage, sweetened to your preference. Drinking from the... So for me, that's just black coffee. I drink black coffee. I don't pour milk in it. Also not plant-based. Well, I don't pour milk or sugar in it anyway. Drinking from this mug will cure 1 level of exhaustion. Coffee, right? And force you to make a DC 13 wisdom saving throw. On a failure, you are addicted to its brew. And you must use your next 1d4 bonus actions to continue repeating the command word and drinking. These do not remove any more exhaustion, but you become jittery and irritable, giving you disadvantage on dexterity and charisma checks for 4 hours. This is so freaking relatable. Now, this is relatable because I am a coffee drinker. As you know, support me on Patreon and please pay for my coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. No, I don't drink a lot of coffee. I like drink 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, but when I drink like slightly too much coffee, I get really, really, really irritable. I'm sorry, really hard word. Irritable and jittery. Like right now, I'm talking a lot. Oh, my door suddenly decided to open itself. Right. Okay. I become jittery. I become irritable. So if I don't drink any coffee for 2 days, let's say I don't drink coffee for 2 days, then drinking 1 cup of coffee makes me a coffee drinker again. Sometimes I succeed on the wisdom saving throw, but most of the times I fail the wisdom saving throw. So that's really relatable, and I think it's very funny. So yeah, I think that is a good one, and that is not like an overpowered thing that even like has. It cures 1 level of exhaustion, which is really good to have if you are having these long travels through the mountains and your dungeon master's like really putting exhaustion stuff in there just to make sure you feel like you're really traveling and having a hard time through the snowy mountain peaks. So it's very handy to cure a level of exhaustion, but it also has this downside that you need to keep drinking it because you're just completely addicted to it. Coffee is an addiction. Here is a good one. Potion of Earth Breathing. Just this text is really, 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 really funny. The popularity of the potion of water breathing inspired mages to experiment with potions that allow safe travel in other elements. Research into the potion of fire breathing was discontinued after too many test subjects burned to death. The potion of air breathing works very well, but not that many people found use for it, so it is no longer regularly manufactured. The potion of earth breathing is quite effective, allowing you to breathe normally even when trapped within dirt or stone. Sadly, it does not allow you to move freely while trapped. Still, perhaps it may be of some value to you in some very niche circumstances. Its effects last 1 hour. This is one of those magic items that I want to give to my players and see what they come up with. I am 100,000% sure they will come up with something that is so ridiculous. Potion of Earth Breathing. When you read it, it does not make sense because you do not know in advance when somebody is going to bury you, and you will probably not have the chance to drink the Earth Breathing potion. Also, Earth Breathing. I mean, Earth Breathing, right? But I see one of my players just having it in their inventory for a year, and then suddenly a big ass enemy shows up, and one person wants to hide by burying themselves. So they drink this potion and then jump into a pit and put earth on themselves and just stay there for an hour. Something like that. I see that happening, and I think that is very funny stuff, and that is why I play Dungeons and Dragons. I, as a dungeon master, want to play a game, so I want to be surprised by my players. I want to be pushed into like improvising while I'm playing a game. So I am really, really wondering what my players are going to do with this one. So this one absolutely made the cut for while being added to my game. I mean, it is something that I want to add to my game. Let's see if there is a rainbow wand, criminal's time shifting, really, really immovable rod, ring of Ring of the All. There was an other one which I think, which I thought was really cool, but I'm Tome of Overthinking. Really, Weapon of Anxiety. This one is very cool. Weapon of Anxiety. It could be any weapon, uncommon, requires attunement. It is good to be aware of potential danger. It is not good to be over-aware. A magical weapon. This magical weapon alerts you to danger, but it sees danger everywhere and is constantly alerting you to its tiniest of potential problems. As a result, you have advantage on initiative rolls and wisdom perception rolls, and you cannot be surprised. However, you have disadvantage on investigation and insight rolls because you are constantly nervous and distracted. Your passive score for perception gains a +5 bonus, and your passive score for insight investigation suffer a -5 penalty. The weapon awakens you to danger even when you are sleeping, but since it senses danger in almost everything, it awakens you frequently. At the end of a long rest, make a DC 8 Constitution saving throw, quite low, so manageable, gaining 1 level of exhaustion on a failure, and being able to break attunement on a success. So you cannot break attunement with this, and this is one of those weapons. As a dungeon master, if you give it to your players, I'm very good at this stuff. If you give this to your players, roleplay it. Give this weapon a voice. Give this weapon a personality. And if you have an orc who decides to hold this sword and use it, make sure to like roleplay, like have this voice like, hey boss, hey boss, hey boss, look behind you, look behind you, there's an owl, that's watching you really, really, really closely. It might be a face spy, I don't know. What? Hey boss, hey boss, hey boss, that tree, its leaves are slightly less greener than the other trees, so maybe it's an awakened tree. Who knows? Who knows? Something like that. Just put that in there, but only put that in there if you're comfortable role playing the heck out of it. Don't just give that to your players and expect them to roleplay that themselves. No, you as a dungeon master are responsible for roleplaying that. And that's basically it. There are a bunch of. There's a random rolling table, of course, with a D100 where you can give random loot to your players. But be careful what you give your players because they will always find ways to um, to have more usage out of something that when you read it you think it could have. That was the remainder bin. That was my rambly little flip through of the remainder bin by Maxwell Zener. Maxwell Zener, thank you so much for sending it to me. I absolutely love it. And I know the balance things are just, I mean, they probably maybe are even on purpose just to make them sound more ridiculous. That's also why the magic items were probably thrown into the remainder bin, but I absolutely love it. And to my viewers, there's a lot more in there, a lot more funny stuff in there that I know about, but I didn't tell you about because I want you to find it out for yourself. Click the link in the description below if you want to find out for yourself about the remainder bin.